Good morning, aspirants. It's 6th of November today, and I welcome you all on today's edition of What to Read in the Hindu newspaper. I'm 𝗗𝗶𝗹𝘆 𝗡𝗲, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance with regard to prelims and mains, but we'll also try interlinking with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your newspaper reading as a part of our GS syllabus. So let's get started. The very first article that is there in the paper and is relevant for our exam is about stubble burning areas in key Punjab districts 20% lower than last year. Reveals satellite data. So we all know every year in the month of October and November, the peak pollution in the NCR region rises. And the major concern and the major problem for this is stubble burning. So this is relevant for GS paper 3, environment, pollution, agriculture, and GS paper 2, governance and center-state coordination. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about stubble burning in Punjab has not declined significantly despite years of intervention. Only 20% as per this particular article and data is lower than the last year. Satellite data has been used for getting to this conclusion. For prelims perspective, the arenas that we have to unfold while going through this particular article is what is data-based monitoring through satellite imagery, role of remote sensing, Commission for Air Quality Management, that is 𝐶AQM, NCR Air Quality Governance. Do we have any specialized plan for as the pollution rises to curb it in the form of GRAP? How are different stages is being defined? For mains perspective, we need to know crop residue management. As has government came up with anything like that, governance and behavioral reforms angle that can be linked while going through this particular article, challenges in implementing sustainable agricultural practices. Also, other technologies in the form of 𝐷𝐵𝐶𝐸 can be quoted while going through this particular article. So when you see smog over Delhi, remember, it is not just pollution. It is also policy failure and coordination gap in action that we are seeing. The next important article that is there in the paper and is on it and on editorials page majorly talks about the road accidents in India. So in this article, the author has tried to emphasize death on the move. Road accidents are not resulting in an overhaul of infrastructure and licensing gaps. So this is relevant for GS paper 3, infrastructure, road safety and governance. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about India records one of the highest global fatalities from road accidents, calling for licensing reform, digital monitoring and institutional restructuring. For prelims perspective, we can read the peripheral areas in the form of Motor Vehicle Amendment Act of 2019, Road Safety Audit Save Life Foundation initiative this particular article has talked about, role of IRDA, insurance data linkage. For mains perspective, we can link this particular article in a manner. India's road accident problem is less about roads, but more about accountability. Ethics of enforcement, governance reform, and citizen awareness is the need of the hour. This article beautifully links infrastructure with governance issues. This is a classic example wherein GS3 theme for real value added information and data can be quoted while going through this particular article. And also this could be a favorable argument while presenting your answer in ethics and essay as well. The next important article is about in Brazil, COP30 and the movement of truth. Relevant for GS paper 3, environment, climate change and international cooperation. Also relevant for GS paper 2, IR, global south and climate diplomacy. This particular article talks about Brazil's position. This is not India specific, but Brazil's position for COP30 as COP of Truth pushing a tropical forest forever facility, which is an initiative to fund rainforest conservation in Brazil. Right? So Brazil has Amazon rainforest, which is said to be lungs of world. So this is one such initiative wherein the restoration and preservation fund is required to keep that momentum going. For prelims perspective, we can identify arenas such as the location of COP30, where in Brazil it would be this UNFCCC conference would be concluded. Tropical Forest Forever Facility, what is it? Paris Agreement goals and CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility principles that we have to revise. For main perspective, we need to about what is climate justice, climate finance, and leadership by Global South, Brazil's role in shifting climate narratives, India-Brazil cooperation under BRICS and G20. So this particular article is an epic example wherein we can quote several articles and arguments for essay 2. It reflects emerging Global South climate leadership narrative as well. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. The next important article that is there in the paper and is very much relevant for our exam is about Model Code of Conduct, the Malleable Code of Conduct. This has been the subheading for this particular issue. It is relevant for GS paper 2, Election Commission and Conduct of Elections. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article by the author is about MCC, that is Model Code of Conduct, is increasingly bent to political convenience, raising the question, should it now be given statutory backing or not? For prelims perspective, we need to know the history of Model Code of Conduct, origin of Model Code of Conduct, Election Commission guidelines, relationship with RPA Act 1950 and 1951, power of Election Commission under Article 324. For mains perspective, the same article can be linked. It is a moral backbone for free and fair election, but is it truly implemented in letter and spirit or not? Issues with regard to autonomy, neutrality, and institutional credibility as well. This is a perfect polity-based editorial that is very much relevant from our exam perspective. You can use it to answer on electoral reforms or institutional accountability as well. Now, the next important article that is there in the paper and which is very much relevant for our exam is about challenges facing the upcoming income survey. Now, when we map this particular article in our syllabus, this will fall under GS paper 3 economy. That talks about growth, inclusive development, and also data governance. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about India is planning its first comprehensive income survey. Earlier to this, we have seen a lot of surveys, periodic labor force survey, household survey with regard to expenditure, but this would be one such survey which would include first comprehensive income survey that integrates both income and expenditure data, which is very much crucial for policy calibration. For mains perspective, we need to know about NSSO, NSO, and CSO, their differentiated roles, and what kind of data, what kind of surveys they create, citing difference between each of them. Then there is difference between income and consumption data. What are the factors that determine them? Survey design and sampling bias. For mains perspective, the same article could be quoted in a manner, data is policy. Without reliable income data, welfare targeting often fails. Measurement challenges, informal sector issues, evidence-based policy making is lacking without having concrete data. So this survey could redefine poverty and inequality debates that is going on in India. So this is how this particular article is to be seen holistically. The next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention is about what constitutes as contempt of court in India. Relevant for GS paper 2 polity, judiciary, separation of powers. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about debate reignited over whether contempt power restrict legitimate criticism of judiciary or not. Then the contempt is of two types, civil contempt and criminal contempt. What are the key differences between the two? The peripheral areas that we have to revise from our exam perspective. For prelims perspective, the other articles and arenas that we have to revise while going through this particular article is about Article 129 and Article 215 that talks about court of record. Contempt of Court Act 1971, civil versus criminal contempt. What are the landmark cases associated with contempt of court as a concept? Afterwards, for mains perspective, judicial independence cannot mean judicial infallibility. Balancing free speech with respect of judicial authority as well. So this is relevant for, very much relevant for ethics paper, GS4. It touches also arena such as institutional integrity and moral authority also, and relevant for our essay paper as well. The last important article for the day is about FATF. So FATF releases updated asset recovery framework. India played a key role, says ED. It is relevant for GS paper 2, international institution, GS paper 3, internal security and money laundering. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about FATF has expanded its asset recovery guidelines to strengthen global efforts against corruption and financial crimes. For prelims perspective, we need to know about FATF mandate and its membership, the newest member that has been included in it, non-convention based confiscation that is there, relation to UNODC and G20 anti-corruption framework. What are the lists that they launched? Blacklist, grey list, etc. And what is the criteria for the same? Financial transparency is now new frontier of sovereignty. It could be an angle for mains perspective as well. Role of India in shaping FATF outcomes during G20 presidency. So this is relevant for both GS paper 2 under the theme institutions and also GS paper 3 security and economy.